Let's get Mia on here.
Hi.
Hey, Mia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful. I just poured myself a glass of wine, so doing better. I just finished my workday, so I'm trying to like wind myself down.
Never been on one before.
Well, you're doing great. It's very easy. Basically, I'm just going to ask you questions,
Okay.
and you're just gonna tell me your honest answer. So everyone, because I am going to be reposting this as
Okay.
well, and we do have someone else joined. Yay! Um, so this is Mia Barnes of Blissful Lens Photography. She has been a photographer for how many years? 10+ years.
Almost 13. Yeah.
Almost 13, gosh,
Mhm.
and runs a very successful business and is a fantastic photographer. I know from personal experience because she has taken my business photos that I am still obsessed with to this day. She took them a few years ago. Wonderful photos. Even though you specialize in doing family photos, our brand photos, they turned out beautiful. I cannot speak enough great words about Mia, even as a person. She's so generous and wonderful for giving her time, not only to this, but to the community and to other women and helping them and supporting them. So I'm so excited to have you here, Mia.
Yeah. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in photography? What made you fall in love with it?
So initially, I was attending seminary at Southwestern in Fort Worth and needed a creative outlet. I was taking like 28 hours a semester and had three little kids. And Cook's Children's Hospital was nearby, and kids are near and dear to my heart. And so I just thought some sort of a creative outlet to, I don't know, just breathe a little bit in between classes and kids and life. I'm turning off my sound right now so that way I can't, everyone's messages aren't coming through. Um, and so I started and did that. So I was a compassion photographer. So I did that for about 2 years. So my start was interesting. So I was kind of learning, like, because you're in hospitals, you're outdoors. I kind of did everything. So as a compassion photographer, I did end of life sessions at the hospitals, which was really hard. I definitely gained like my empathy, compassion. Like people are like, "You're such a positive person." I'm like, I've seen hard stuff. So it's easy to be thankful for very little things once you are experience that kind of loss on a regular basis. And then I would also do people that had like new diagnoses that would affect the whole family, like a seizure disorder. And I would kind of spend the whole day with them, and we'd go to a fair or a park. And it was kind of like a lifestyle in the day of just them being them as a family
Yeah.
unit. Would end with a family session. So I did that for 2 years. And then I started getting requests for people like, "Hey, can we hire you? We love your work." And so it just naturally evolved into an actual business after about 2 years of just volunteer work.
Oh, wow. Gosh. And okay, and how many kids do you have now?
I have four of my own. I'm about to add another. I'm getting married this spring. So, yeah.
And I want to say because this is such a you're such an inspiration to me personally is being able to provide for your family, for your kids as a single mom is such a hard thing to do. And being a divorce attorney for 7 years, I personally saw women like literally, like go be penniless after a divorce and have nothing and have kids to feed. And
Mhm.
a lot of them, wish they could quit their jobs and do what they love doing this. But and obviously you didn't just do that. You worked very hard to do that. But you're just such an inspiration to single moms out there because, they can do it too because you did it.
Yeah, I fully believe that. I thank you for saying that. It's interesting because I think that you're a divorce attorney, so the narrative for single moms is that we have to struggle. I am intent and hell-bent on breaking that stereotype. My mom was a single mom who was a badass. She became a partner in her CPA firm. She became a CPA while she was a single mom. So like we saw her do that. Obviously in fourth grade, I wasn't like, wow, you're a boss mom. I just was like, I just want you home with me. You know what I mean? But I just didn't understand at the time. And it wasn't until I became a single mom where I was like, yeah, like I'm not struggling either. And it's because I had put in the work and I had been my family's main provider, only provider for the 2 years before I divorced, which I think helped because I didn't have to question, like, can I do this on my own? I was already doing it on my own, which probably not. But I feel strongly that any woman can be successful if they find what they're passionate about and they can just remove fear, because that's really what stops women from doing, like, taking the leap, whether they're married or divorced or single or don't have kids, have kids. There's this like thought process that we have built in us as women from a young age, like, can we do this? Like, what makes me think I can do this? Like, is she going to be offended if I do this? Will they judge me if I do this? Where men don't have that filter. And so men just go and do, and it's a beautiful thing that they can do that. But I'm intent on teaching women that they can do that too. Like, we're no different. The biggest that I think is funny in conservative Texas, and I love it here. I chose to move here, and I adore where I live. I'm from the West Coast, and so there's just not as many stay-at-home moms. It's just a dual income required to live on the West Coast. It's very expensive.
Right.
And, you know, building a house and traveling with my children and doing the things that I do. And people are like, "Ooh, what does your husband do?" And I'm like, I don't have one of those. And people look at me like, where does she get the gall and the nerve?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. People sometimes even seem like offended by women's success. And I don't understand that. But you're right. Like, some people are just, who is this person? What?
Well, and even for, like, people say, well, how are you doing that? And I'm like, I guess the way your husband is doing it. Like, I don't know, like, because they're all in one households and building homes, and it's very normal. But it's just interesting that it's so, like, it's so not normal for women, which is bizarre to me.
And the thing is that I think that it is normal for so many women. It's just that they're maybe not like the one speaking up and saying it, or, you know, maybe not in the same group of people, or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, because there are so many single moms out there that make it. Like, I mean, your mom becoming a CPA as a single mom, like you becoming a photographer, and like being able to like raise your 4 kids and travel and build a house. I've seen the plans for your house.
I cannot wait.
I can't wait, honestly, so I can see photos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's astonishing. No, you guys have not seen it, but it's astonishing. It's going to be a giant, massive, beautiful house.
That's because of all the kids.
Hey, whatever excuse you need to live in a giant house.
Yes.
Well, so you kind of hit on one of my questions. When you first started your photography business, what was your biggest fear and how did you overcome that? I guess being a compassion photographer is different, but I'm sure you still had a fear in starting out on your own, and initially just saying it's hard for me to even say sometimes that I'm a lawyer, and I don't know why, but I feel like, why do people need to know that? I want to seem like I'm, you know, pompous or anything, you know?
I think that's one of people's fears, is to come off like arrogant or conceited. So a couple of things. I didn't have any fear when I first started as a compassion photographer, obviously, because I'm just volunteering my time and hanging out with awesome families who need a lot of love and encouragement. Easy for me to do. Or like being there in a moment of grief and providing something that, you know, the hands and feet that I'm documenting, the mom remembers those, you know, when she was carrying her child. So for me, like, those details were so special to them that there was no like thinking outside of myself. I was just operating.
Uh-oh.
So are you there?
Yes, you're back. Yes.
Okay. So I was operating from a place of just wanting to serve and love people. It was very different. So I took a break for about a year and a half because our youngest son had some health issues that we were dealing with. And I just decided that it was best to go ahead and just take a break. So he was really sick when he was little. So I took a break for like a year and a half, and then we moved to Abilene. And when I moved here, it was one of those things where I was either going to make the money that I wanted to make and have it be worth it to me, be out of the home, or I wasn't going to work. That was like, and I tend to be all or nothing anyways. Like I'm a go hard, go home in general.
Yeah, I am too.
Was that about me? And so I'm either all in or I'm out. And so I was like, I'm going to try this. And it was literally one of those things where when I was coming up with my pricing structure, I was like, in a perfect world, what could I make? Like what would be my income? And remember, this was in addition to my husband's income. So it was not like I needed a whole lot, but I'm like, if I were to work, this is what I want my time to be valued at. And kind of worked backwards from there, math wise. How often do I want to work? Kind of came up with this is what I want to make per session. This is how many times I want to work a week. And I came up with this number, and it was a scary number. Like for me, I was like, there's no way I'm going to make that. There's no way people are going to pay that. And that was scary for me, but I had nothing to lose, right? And I think I was lucky in the sense that I had nothing to lose. Like I could do it, and if it didn't work, like I could adjust. I was new to the area. It's not like I was coming up and then raising my prices and I was losing clientele, right?
Mm-hmm.
I already had clients. I was new to the area. And so I started with that pricing, and within 3 months, I was booked out 6 months out. And I was the only one in Abilene charging what I was charging, like the session fee and then in-person ordering. No, everyone back then this was 10 years ago, everyone doing what we call shoot and burn photography, which means you're taking pictures, you're burning them to a CD, and they're getting them, and that's it. It's like a flat fee. And that's not how you make money as a photographer. You cannot make money doing it. You can make side hustle and get your nails done, but like you're not going to be you can't charge $200 a session and buy all the gear and make an income to feed your family. You just can't. And so
right.
For me, I was like, well, yeah, I was like, it worked. Like, and I think it's because I also ran it like a business. I didn't run it like a hobby. Like I came out saying like, these are exclusive sessions. I set myself apart in branding, and my husband at the time was building these sets for sessions, and
Nice.
It was something totally different for Abilene. And I think that really helped. And it's interesting. I mean, it's like Louis Vuittons, right? I mean, you can go to Target and buy a purse, or you can go to Louis Vuitton and buy a purse. It's a totally different experience, and people are willing to pay more for the experience and for the exclusivity. And that's how I marketed myself on social media and locally. And my biggest fear actually happened in the sense that women were not nice to me.
And I will say, even doing this legal blog on the side of my real job as a lawyer, like I would think that that's pretty similar. I've gotten a lot of hate for women, and it has really astounded me. People that I thought would maybe from certain nonprofit groups that I was in would support me more than they would, was surprising to me. Yeah, people I thought were really good friends.
Yeah.
Super supportive. Yeah, I shared that.
Yes. Well, and it's frustrating too because, and this is what I have a twin sister. She's a photographer as well. And so her and I bounce their ideas and stuff like that. She's very successful too in California. And I remember talking to her, and I'm like, do you think Sprint is mad at AT&T for being like, we're the best? No, we're the best. Like, nobody cares. Like, you can say you're the best and feel like you're the best, and no one else has any room to say anything. So if I'm like, and if some blog votes me the best in Abilene, I can be like, I was chosen as the best photographer in Abilene. And am I going to market that? Yeah, I'd be an idiot not to. But everyone else was mad about it. Like, who said you were the best? And I'm just like, why do you care? Like, own thing. Like, and I really felt like people were like, how does she get away with charging people that much? Like, that's excessive and that's ridiculous. And then their clients were coming to me.
Right. And I will say, as a former client, you're worth every single penny.
Thank you. It's just interesting. But I also was offering, like, no one else at the time was doing like wardrobe consultations and like unique session locations and building sets, and I was doing different things, and I was also like, at the time no one was printing anything because everyone had CDs of pictures that they didn't do anything with, and I was offering in-person ordering sessions where I order your canvases and design gallery walls for you. I still do that during my ordering sessions. And
Ooh.
so and the other thing I noticed too was that, and this is the fear part, is I was new to the area, making friends, wanting to build like a photography community of women who support each other. And I found out really quickly, the hard way, that one, they were not in my corner. As soon as no one likes to talk about money. Like, heaven forbid you bring up.
Right.
And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, like, I'm making this amount of money and it's crazy. And if you change your pricing, like, you could change your family's life. Like, I was just excited to share it. You know what I mean? And
Why wouldn't you want that?
yeah, people were like, oh, like, she thinks that she's all that. And I'm just like, I was trying to help you out. If you don't want the help, like, by all means, like, I sit over there, I guess. But
Right.
it was interesting to see that dynamic play out. And the other thing was too, is there was a few people that like were copying like writing or locations and like exact poses, which by all, I mean, I'm not the creator of anything, like nothing new is under the sun, but literally like taking exactly what I was writing and putting it on their pages. And at some point I didn't address them directly. One time I did. But I posted a thing saying like, hey, like, because other people would be like, other photographers I was mentoring across the country would be like, how do you handle people that copy you? And so I just addressed it on my page. Like, I've gotten this question a lot. Like, you are the best version of you. If anyone else is copying you, they're not going to do it better than you do. They're
No.
not you. It's not authentic to who they are. They will sound like a fraud. And people will pick up on that. And that's not your business. Just let them do what they do.
Yeah.
And but people didn't like me, and I am a people person. Like, I want everyone to like me, and I want to have strong women around me. And now, like,
Yeah.
10 years later, I have strong, amazing women. Are they photographers? No. Are they probably way more successful than I am? Yes. Am I smart to surround myself with people that are more successful than me? Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, and some of them are still like in this little group of, they're all friends with photographers. And it's hard to feel left out of that sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's not my job to be friends with everyone. My job is to
Right.
be good at what I do and to provide well for my family. And if that for some reason hurts your feelings personally, I'm sorry, I guess. Like, it's just one of those things where as a business owner, you just have to be okay with people not liking you, which was
Yeah.
new to me. I didn't like that at first.
And it's hard. It's like hard because your business is like your baby, and you take things, take things personal when,
Mm-hmm.
Someone says something that is maybe not as nice as I would want it to be. I mean, I do, but I
Yeah.
shouldn't. And we all shouldn't, but that's a really great lesson. I love that. So what you kind of delved into that, this next question when you were talking about people stealing your content and stuff. So what are your biggest issues that you do have as a photographer, and how can you maybe prevent that from happening, if at all possible?
I think that I dealt with it more when I first started because I didn't know how to put up healthy boundaries with me and my clients. And now my clients, they're paying a premium for what I do. They're not going to go edit my pictures. Like, they just paid $1,000 for a newborn session. They're not going to go put an Instagram filter on it. I provide them a full gallery. There's nothing else that they would need to do to them. When they download them, there's like this information that they read over, websites I recommend, but it also talks about like, hey, as would you, like, it's never required to tag me, but I'm like, it helps my business grow if you tag me when you post pictures on social media. I would love that. They're so good about that. But I think the biggest thing is just learning how to communicate with your clients. If you want your clients to do something, just ask them to do it. Like, we're all afraid to like ask the question, and it's like, if you want positive reviews on Google, say, hey, would you mind while you're here at your newborn session sharing on Google about your experience? If it's negative, message me personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good when they're there.
Yes. They're just sitting there watching me work anyways, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're the baby whisperer. How is this baby sleeping? Or I'm playing with their kids at a family session, you know what I mean? And moms, you know, just like, how are my kids listening to this woman and playing, and how is she going to get anything? Later on, they're like, that's amazing. So I think learning, it's not necessarily problems, it's just learning how to like make the best of your client relations, right? So just asking your clients, telling them what you want. So if you're like, if you want people to tag you, you can't be like, everyone has to tag me on social media or I'm upset. People are busy, they're going to forget. Facebook's working, they can't tag you for some reason. If you're going to go after every client, you're going to ruin your client relations. The best thing you could do is teach your clients how to treat your work and hope for the best. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's, when people are, especially when you're dealing with art and copyright stuff, it's so easy to be like, you know, they cropped that picture or they may have edited that picture. At the end of the day, like, it's out of my hand.
Yeah.
That's about
If
it.
they want to make it uglier, I guess they can. I don't know why they would, but yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever had any issues with someone like stealing a photo of yours and saying it was theirs and then making money off of it? Because that is like a whole different issue that I would think that I would be upset about.
Yes. So I've had several companies take my work and use it for like promoting brands.
Yeah.
And then I've also had some photographers like totally steal my work and act like it's theirs, and like on a website in New Jersey, and they're like, I offer these sessions, and I'm like, that's not your work. I've never lawyered up and tried to do anything. I've just addressed it personally and said, like, I think sometimes people think they're getting away with something, and as soon as you're like, I see you and you need to stop, they're like, then they kind of panic and they take it down right away.
Totally. Absolutely. And I see that even just being an attorney, I can send like a cease and desist letter. And a lot of the times, like even big corporations will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Here's whatever you need. It's kind of like just getting the slap on the wrist and making them realize they did something wrong. Will a lot of the time make them realize they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do try and do as an attorney is mitigate people's expenses, because like you're right, there's sometimes it's not worth it at all to go after someone, whether or not that's just like on your heart or it's just financially beneficial to you. Like it's just not the right thing to do. And I try to reason with my clients, because most of them just want to go, they're out for blood. Try and reason with them, because
Yeah.
it's going to cost you something down the road.
Right.
Something down the road, and it might be your soul and it might be some money, but it won't be anything good.
Right.
I love that. Okay, so you've kind of alluded a little bit to this, but you specialize, I believe, specifically in like newborns and maternity and family photos, right?
Yes. So I've kind of been all over. I started out as compassionate, obviously working with families and children. And then I started doing weddings and high school seniors. And I added newborns last. So newborns are by far the hardest photography. Newborns are awkward. I don't know if you've ever held a newborn or you've tried to take a picture of a newborn and they look like little aliens. Their head's like a third of their body. They're just lanky and awkward. Like, they're beautiful. I love newborns. But like, you have to know how to pose them right. You have to be able to keep them asleep. You have to be able to have safety issues, right? And make sure that they're safe. And then it's, even once they're posed and they're safe and they're sleeping, like you have to have the right camera angle. It's so easy to take bad pictures of newborns. You've seen it done. And so, and what's funny is a lot of times people will say, like, I went somewhere else. Well, interesting story. So I had a client come to me 1 year. I did their newborns. I'm not cheap. I'm one of the more expensive photographers in Abilene. Not the most expensive, but one of the more expensive ones. And so it's an investment, like, but you get what you pay for.
Totally.
And
Absolutely.
they tried to, so it's like 3 years later. I've seen that they've had another baby. They didn't use me. My feelings aren't hurt. Like, my budget's not for everybody. Maybe their something was different. Maybe they want, I don't know. Maybe they became friends with this other person. I have no idea. Like, my feelings aren't hurt about it.
Right.
So I get an email or message on Facebook one day. It's like this long. It's like this deep apology. Like, Mia, we're so sorry. We loved your work with our first one. We were trying to save money. We went to this XXX, whoever person. And like, they were awful. Our experience wasn't good. We ended up paying more than we paid with you. And we only liked like 2 pictures. we're so sorry. We're pregnant again. Please take us back. And I was like, oh my gosh. They've done like 4 sessions with me since then. But sometimes you have to learn like what you don't like, and I've had so many people that, or even like, you know, with our first photographer, I tried to do it myself. They were awful. Like, I keep seeing your pictures. Like, I just want pretty pictures. I don't care how much it costs. Like, we're willing to do that.
Yeah.
And I have some clients that stay for a year to work with me, and I have some clients that come to me every 6 months and want a session. And I'm like, you can do that. Like, by all means, like, I'll photograph your face.
Why not?
So everyone's different, but yeah, I started, newborns is the hardest. So I did newborn training, like safety training, posing, all that stuff 8 years ago, and started newborns. I was doing newborns before that, but they were like lifestyle. There's nothing lifestyle newborn photography that's still beautiful. It's just, it's done by people who can't do the other style. And I couldn't do the other style. I didn't know what I was doing yet. And so I did started my own studio 8 years ago for a newborn studio. And it's funny because I think it just depends on what day you catch me or what you happen to see on Facebook. Because some people are like, I knew you did weddings, but I didn't know you had a newborn studio, because they met me at a wedding. I photographed their high school senior, and then their high school seniors getting married. And they're like, well, do you do weddings? And I'm like, yes, I do weddings. And then they have a baby, and they're like, you do newborns too, right? So it's really fun. Like this summer, I'm shooting a wedding in Malibu.
Oh.
I did the brother and sister's high school senior photography here at Jened in Tuscola, and now she's getting married. And so it's really fun to get to follow. I've been a photographer long enough to get to follow families through different stages, which I love. But yeah, I do a little bit of everything.
Oh, that's so fun. You really do follow people throughout their entire lives, which I think it's one of my very favorite things about my wedding, which was like my last big thing because I don't have kids. I treasure my photos so much because you always remember, but memories fade. And it's always just so nice to go back and see, you know, people that I've lost, you know, for health reasons or whatever in the past few years, and that I don't get to see anymore, or family that are just far away that came in for the wedding. And it's just, they're such a special memory and such a great investment on, you know, I believe they are, but I'm glad that you know your worth and you've defined your worth accurately, because people are like banging down your doors to book with you. So obviously your pricing is working, and you are at this premium price because you are worth it. And I'm so happy for you for that.
Yeah, it was funny. My fiance Kenny I was talking to him earlier. Did you see how I just went like that? Like, so it's just, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm 40 and madly in love with this man, and I get to marry him, and I still,
so sweet.
How is this my life? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal, and he thinks he is, which I think is great because we both feel like we're winning. He's clearly getting the raw end of the deal, but like, anyways, we're getting married soon, and I was talking to him earlier, and he's like, what did you do today? And I was like, oh, because it's ice day here in Abilene, everything's closed. I guess every mom had nothing else better to do, and there's like this to-do list they're all working down, because I booked like 8 sessions today, which isn't normal like on a Thursday. Like normally I get a few inquiries a day and I'm booking like months out, you know. But yeah, no, everyone was like, today I've just been on my phone all day booking sessions, which is great. I'm at home, I'm with my kids. I'm not actually out of my home working, but everyone paid session fees today, so you still make, you know, whatever 8 times session fees are, which is amazing because
yeah, that's the best way to make money, is at home on your couch and on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's so amazing. So what, as a beginning photographer, what equipment or tools or software or, you know, whatever in that realm, would you recommend like a beginning photographer having, that are like your go-to things that you just think you really need for editing or doing whatever?
Okay. Well, a couple of things. Every new photographer starts out the same way. And I think it works over time, especially if you move like I did. Like, no one knew me when I was a crappy photographer. Like, I was learning. There's nothing wrong with that. Like,
we all are in that stage at some point. Yeah.
So everyone's so hard on themselves. And it's like, we all learn somewhere. Like, you should see my work from 12 years ago. Like, it's trash. Like, I can't believe I even volunteering. I probably did a disservice even volunteering. I probably shouldn't have been doing it. They were like,
we're happy to have you.
yeah, I love them. And I'm still like, I can't believe I delivered that. Like, what was I doing? But I think the best thing, if you're going to stay where you're at, right? If you're like, this is where I'm going to raise my family, I'm a mom or I'm a young woman and I'm wanting to start a job as a photographer, do not start a page. I think people get so overzealous and excited, which is great. Like, I love the excitement, but like, do not offer anything at a price until you are worth charging what you want to make. Because what happens is people start and they want to practice and they're offering all these free sessions, or they're offering, mini sessions, or 2 hours for $30 and all the digitals. And then they're like, well, why am I not busy? Because no one wants that. They know that you're not good yet and they don't want to waste their time. And if they're going to get all ready and buy the clothes, they want to pay someone that knows what they're doing. But there's nothing wrong with practicing, but just practice and don't tell anyone. Just work on your friends. I used to legit, we got a puppy when I was like 2 years in. He's right here actually. We got a puppy. He's 10 now, almost 11. And I was 2 years in, and I just would he's probably over me, because I would just follow him around and work on aperture and settings and put him in the shadow and put him in the sunlight. And that's how I practiced. So my thing is, whatever gear you have, keep it quiet, practice, 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 practice. It really doesn't matter what gear you have. Everyone's caught up in whatever. Once you're ready to start charging, you need to have a good camera. I just moved to the mirrorless with Canon. And it's funny, I don't know, I'm like, what is it even called? I don't know, I just got it over Christmas. It's the new mirrorless Canon. My sister's gonna make fun of me if she listens to this. She's looking at me like, why didn't you know the name of our camera? I don't know. I shoot with a 35. Everyone asks me what I shoot with. I shoot with Canon and I shoot with a 35. My gear, I shoot with a 35 most of the time. I have a 50 and a 74-200 and lots of other lenses, but I typically shoot with a 35 most of the time unless it's weddings. And then I have a macro that I throw on there for newborns for details. Mm-hmm. But I will say, regardless of the gear you have, I think that practice, practice, practice. And then when you're ready to start charging, charge what you actually want to make. When I teach photographers all over the country about photography, people ask, do you teach locally? I'm like, no, why would I do that? And people get offended, she thinks she's too good to teach. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to teach you to do what I do locally. That doesn't really make any sense to me.
Right. Your market.
Yeah. I'm not going to teach you how to do what I do. Why would I do that? But I teach people all over the country, and it's interesting because my biggest thing that I tell people is figure out your settings. Figure out, I'm a set it and forget it. There's people that have gone to photography. I'm self-taught. People that went to photography school and they're all about changing every adjustment every time they do it. That's not how I shoot. I'm a set it and forget it, Ron Popeil, show cooker, type of girl. So I set my settings and then I'm just adjusting my shutter speed for lighting, and that's kind of it. And so once you can get your settings down, you can talk about posing. Because most people, they're in their head with their settings and then they can't figure out posing. They're like, act natural. There's nothing natural about being in front of a camera.
Right.
Ever.
I always feel so awkward and weird, and for some reason I'm always where are my hands going? Ricky Bobby, I don't know.
Yes.
How do you make people feel comfortable in front of the camera and make them feel like this is a natural thing?
So what I do is I act like an idiot, which is, I'm totally okay with it. So when I first get to sessions, I just tell, again, communicating and setting up your clients' expectations is the best thing you can do for your business. When you're shooting, when you're ordering sessions, when you want them to talk about your business, tell them what you want. So when I get to a session, I always kind of crack a joke. I always tell people, I'm from the West Coast. If I say something inappropriate, I'm blaming it on that. I apologize in advance. They all kind of laugh. Typically, they probably fought on the way to their session. I can guarantee it. Someone's not happy about what they're wearing. The husband doesn't want to be there. Yeah. The wife made everyone and threatened everyone to within an inch of their life on the way to the session. And now they're here. They're like, mom's like, you better smile, right? And I know that this has happened on the way to their session. Yeah. So we're here. Everyone take a deep breath. where I typically choose locations that are kind of like open settings where kids can kind of run and be free. I'm not like one of those like pose like this and stand right there and look at my camera and smile. My sessions tend to feel more natural anyways. It's because of how I interact with my clients. So when people get to the session, if the husband's there, I'm always like, okay, every photographer is different. Have you had a photo session before? If you have, cool. I'm probably different than them, so I'm just going to explain how I work. If you haven't, this is how I work. And then I tell them, I am not going to have you come up with poses. That's my job. What I will tell you to do is I will show you exactly how to pose. And I always tell the wife, do you mind if I touch your husband? And she's always like, no, I don't care. And then I'm like, do you care if I touch you? I asked her first because I'm smart and I don't want to get beat up. And everyone kind of laughs. But it's just to kind of break the ice, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so I will pose with the husband. So how to hold hands, how body language is important, like grab their arm and reach over and kind of like lean in, you know, all of those things. And so it's kind of helping everyone to kind of relax. As soon as I'm like, as long as you'll listen and just have fun and do exactly what I tell you to do, your pictures will be beautiful. I promise. Just trust me. And they're like, okay. I'll never forget one time I was shooting in Vegas because I used to shoot all over the country before COVID in the summer times. And this husband gets there. He's ticked. He does not want to be there. I can tell it on his face. And so I said to him, you don't want to be here, do you? And he's like, no, ma'am.
No.
I said, okay. So I can tell that you don't want to be here because it's all right here. So if you give me 10 minutes of your time, we will be done in 10 minutes. And your wife will have the gallery she wants. You'll probably get a little extra tonight because you behaved. You're happy because she has pretty pictures, and we will be done in 10 minutes. Can you give me 10 minutes of cooperation? And I'm happy to be here. And he was like, 10 minutes. And I said, yeah. And he smiled and shook my hand and said, absolutely. He was a gem of a man, like kissing his wife, playing with his kids. Because we were just having fun.
Mm-hmm.
In the desert in Vegas. Their pictures were beautiful. They spent like $2,000 on pictures because they'd never had good pictures because he hates pictures. And so I think it's one of those things that you have to be able to read people and your clients and just help them feel at ease. And just, I mean, everyone wants to dance around whatever. I tend to be pretty honest and upfront. So I'm just like, hey, this is what it is. Like, we're going to move through like this. During maternity sessions, I'm always like, don't touch underneath your belly. It looks inappropriate when you do it. It looks really inappropriate when you do it. Please don't do that. And they all laugh. And I'm like, so then during the session, they'll naturally, and I'm like, you're being inappropriate. And they just laugh and we adjust.
Nice.
But it's just being able to, I don't know, like interact with people and read people. And I'm really comfortable with who I am. So I'm really comfortable. I know I talk fast when I get excited. I know I'll probably say something inappropriate during a session. It is what it is. But if I can kind of be goofy and fun, then they'll relax. So
I think that's great advice, like for anyone, no matter what business you're in. Because I mean, I try and do that at my law firm because obviously if you're coming to me for a divorce, you're probably not very happy. I mean, yeah. So, and also coming to a lawyer is a very scary thing for a lot of people. No one ever wants to speak to an attorney. I'm always the Debbie Downer in the conversation. And honestly, it's truly like one of the worst things people can go through. Your family's being ripped apart. You don't know where your children are possibly going to be living, or if you're going to have to be paying child support. It's a horrible time. So I have set up my law office to look like a house, to be inviting. I specifically have chosen like jewel tones to decorate, and so like blues and purples and greens, because those are like calming, cooling tones, because people get very upset, understandably, totally understandably. So I try and make them as comfortable as they possibly can be. I'm not your typical attorney that's like stuffy, you know, like
fashionista, so your office looks like you, which I think I will speak on this. I think that photographers and any business owner feel like their brand has to look a certain way. And there's nothing more inauthentic about someone trying to fit into a box that they were not made to fit in. And I think that can be said of you. Like, you're definitely like a bubbly, sparkly person. You like all things feminine and girly, and that's who you are. And it would be bizarre to walk into your office and have it be stuffy when that's not who you are. I think the best anyone can do for their business is to be authentic to who their brand is. And it doesn't have to fit into a certain thing. Like, I think a lot of people, they see my pricing and my work and they expect me to be kind of like very professional. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. Like, it's fine. But I'm professional in the sense that I will always deliver amazing work. You will have a good experience. We will have fun while we're doing it. But I'm not professional in the like uptight sense, which I think people kind of expect sometimes, which.
Same. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. Obviously, being a lawyer, I'm going to be very stuck up and formal and this and that. And I try very hard to be informal because people, again, are very uncomfortable, but also legal jargon just doesn't make sense to people. And why would I explain something in legal terms when they're not going to understand it? And that literally affects their life. And it weighs on my heart, like what I tell people, because it literally directly affects their family and their lives. And so it's just such good advice to like relate to your audience and to get back to them and to be who you are. Because again, people can read you too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are feeding off of your energy and your personality and like the energy that you give out. Like someone literally just commented, Mia, you also just have a spirit about you that puts people at ease. And it's true. You know, people can read your energy. And if you're uncomfortable, if you're tense and uptight, like people are also going to respond in that way too. So just
what you asked too is like what is your advice for new photographers as far as gear? But I will say one of the biggest things that I teach new photographers when they come to me and I'm mentoring them, and it's like the easiest thing to do. No one thinks to do it. So like think about like the magazines you like, right? Whether it's Anthropology or Free People or whatever, like is cool, right? Especially like for a high school senior session, like a girls' high school senior session, right? They want to be in those magazines, like not really, but they want that look, right? They want the vibe. And so I always ask people where they shop. Like if you could shop anywhere and money wasn't an issue, like what's the vibe? For senior girls, I ask this. People always ask why I ask that. And I'm like, because I know that they're seeing those pictures and that's what they're thinking. So when you're learning how to post people, even if you're like seeing other photographers work and you're like, I love their work, they post people so naturally, like their clients look so effortless. Though that doesn't happen by accident. Like nothing we do happens by accident. And people are always surprised. I do what's called post play. And I'm like, this is what it is. I'm going to tell you how to interact. But you need to stand right here and do these things. But you need to be interacting this way. So like daddy, you like throw your daughter in the air and play. I'm always like, legally don't let them go. I'm not telling you to throw your child because I don't want to be sued. My lawyer tells me I can't tell people that. So like lift your child, whatever you do is up to you. And they always kind of laugh about it. I'm like, no, I'm serious.
No, really, don't hurt yourself.
Right. So if it's like a mom with her little boy and like a dad with the daughter, like they're playing, mom's cozied up. And so I'm like, just love on your boy. Just like think of like just soaking up like the love of him, and like dad, just play with your daughter. And I just need you guys to stand right here. And I pull back and they're just doing their thing. And then years from then, they'll have these pictures and they'll remember, like I'll have like, I had a surrogacy session recently, and it was a really sweet moment when the parents were with the mom who happened to be sister-in-law. And I said, I'm going to step back. I want you guys to place your hands on your sweet boy and just pray over him. Whatever words you want to speak over him. And then I stepped back and took the pictures were beautiful. And they will always, I said, years from now, you will know what you said. I don't need to know. It doesn't matter to me. But it's like pulling the story out of people. Yeah. That's an authentic way, but you have to walk them through it. You can't just be like, have a special moment, because years from now, it's like, remember how uncomfortable that was? I don't want that for my clients. I want to have, so my job is to create authentic moments that they'll remember years from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always tell couples too, like especially mom and dads that are kind of uptight with a bunch of little kids. You know, they're not uptight people. They're worried their kids are enough. And I'm like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I got it. Yeah. And so they'll be walking like, mom and dad, you hold hands. Kids, I want you guys to look up at your mom and dad and just think about how cool they are. Tell them awesome things about them, or tell them a joke, right? And then I'm like, hey, dad, I want you to whisper the most inappropriate thing you can to your wife. I don't want to hear it. I don't want your kids to hear it. So, right? And dad already looks smug, like, haha, because dad whole life. And mom already looks embarrassed because she's worried about that I'm going to hear what he's about to say. And so what happens is, as I back up and they're in this golden light and the kids are looking up at their parents and the parents are having an authentic moment where dad looks smug and mom looks smitten. You know what I mean? Like all of those moments. And mom will always be like, I cannot believe you said that to me that day. You know what I mean? Like it will be a funny memory for them, but you get authentic responses and beautiful pictures because you're actually creating moments, whether they're funny or serious or sweet or intentional, like intimate moments. Like I think it's just so important to actually like pull those things out. And if you're worried about your camera settings, you can't do that. So if you nail your camera settings and can do that in your sleep, and like I said, I'm just setting everything and then just adjusting my shutter speed so I can look through and do this without thinking about it while I'm talking to my clients.
Okay, nice.
So, and the magazine thing, I always tell people, find magazines. You'll feel like an idiot. Go in your room by yourself, close the door, tell your husband, you know, I'm going to be talking to myself. You're going to hear me. Just ignore it. And it feels really dumb at first, but we don't like to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah.
Like, no, we all hate our voice. I hear my sister and I'm like, normal. We have identical voices. We're identical twins. I feel like she sounds normal. I sound like a weirdo, right?
Right.
And so, it's good to start hearing your voice and be comfortable talking, right? It's also, if you can't show your clients how to do something and you can't talk them through it, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
So you either pull up a picture of a family picture that you love that you're like, I want to do this pose at my next session. And you literally talk them through it. You mimic the poses so you can show them. You're talking them through it. This is what I want you to do. I want you to look at this person. I want you to say this. I want your body to hold this way. Make sure you put your weight on your left hip so your hip pops, so whatever, it gives your body shape. You're just kind of talking through.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do that by yourself in a room, you'll get very used to just talking through poses, and you do that often enough and you can do it in your sleep too. So yeah, that's what I do.
Nice. I mean, if I'm going to go into court and I have to do an opening statement or I have to do even just questioning, sometimes I will do the same exact thing. I will go into this room I'm in right now and I will walk in circles because I'm a pacer. And I will just do my argument or say what I need to say over and over and over again until I feel comfortable doing it. And then you can go and do it in front of other people because, I mean, sometimes I clam up. I'm like, by nature, I'm an introvert. A lot of people don't think that, but that's because I've worked really, really hard at that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I would have never guessed you're an introvert, but people assume if I'm quiet that I'm stuck up. And I'm like, I don't like, I'm an identical twin. I've literally since the womb never been alone. Yeah. So like I'm used to like if I have a person that I'm with, like I'm like a hoot. Like I'm like like just having the best time. If I show up to somewhere by myself, especially when I first got divorced and I was like, I am going out places alone. Like it was so weird because I got married when I was 19.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were married forever, like 17, 16 years. And so when I was finally on my own, it was just such a weird feeling. And so I'd get really quiet around people. And so they'd see me out with other people and I'd be this, this personality. And then they'd see me somewhere else and I'd be really quiet. And they'd be like, oh, she's kind of stuck up. And I'm like, I just don't know what to do when I'm by myself. I just feel like a weirdo. But I think it's one of those things that's like, you just practice at it. Like I'm a people person, but I'm not necessarily an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm like one-on-one with people, like I love that. In a big group, like if I don't have a person, I'm just kind of like,
I'm like, same exact.
Yeah.
Literally, my kindergarten teacher called a parent-teacher conference 3 weeks into kindergarten with my parents, and we're like, and she told my parents, your girl is antisocial. She literally has not made a single friend, and she's totally fine with it. Like she literally sits and does her work and is happy, smiles. Like she doesn't want to make friends. I'm totally just good on my own. But I'm very like morals and conviction based. And so like through like nonprofits, which is how me and Mia know each other, I have become a lot more empowered and a lot louder because I feel so affected by like low income women and children, like helping them because I see it every day in my practice. Mm-hmm. So certain things have helped me overcome my introvertedness, but it's not who I am instinctively.
Right.
But Mia, you have been full of so much good advice tonight, and I've run out of questions. But if you have any other advice that you would just like to give us before we go, what is it?
I will say this. If you are a woman in any field thinking about getting into business, that just like take the leap. So I always give like the boat analogy. I think you and I have talked about this before. When if there's like, a lake and two boats or a bunch, and, no one's ever been in a boat before. No one knows how to do it, right? And there's a bunch of guys and girls. And it's like, okay, everybody right now has to get from point A to point B across the river on the boat. The men, then there's nothing wrong with men. They are just wired to be very confident and not
Totally
to question
different from us.
do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like ingrained into them from since they're little boys. And so because of that, there is no question, there's no hesitation. Men get in the boat, they figure it out on the way. They don't know how to do it. They will figure it out as they go. And I feel like that's one of probably the things that you and I have in common is that we don't wait for people to show us something. Like and people have asked me before, like, how are you so confident, or how did you know you could do it? I didn't know that I could do this or be this successful or to do X or Y, but I know that I can figure out anything. Like I'm smart enough. Mom raised me and four siblings, or four of us. We're all successful in our own rights, and it's because we were told that if you're not successful, it's your own fault. You're all capable. There's nothing wrong with you. So if we didn't get good grades, it's because we weren't trying hard enough. And that sounds kind of callous, like mean. And it wasn't mean. She just was like, you guys are all, there's nothing wrong with any of you. So if you're not,
really hard
because you're not trying hard. And it was that way in school. And she was right, because we're all successful. And it's because we were just raised to think that way. And I don't think of it any other way. Like I forget it's not normal because I'm surrounded by siblings who are all like me, and a mom that's similar to that too. So to me, what I do is very normal, just to figure it out and make it up as you go, and hope for the best, and so I think that so many women just don't have that upbringing or don't have that support. And so what happens is when people say, okay, now go, all the men jump in and the women are like, I don't know if I can do this. Am I going to look like a jerk if I say I want to try it? What if they think that I'm a bad person? Who's going to watch the kids? Will I be judged? Am I going to do it poorly? And then someone else could have done it better. And so I really should just wait and hold back. And by the time we're all having this conversation as women, the men are like on the other side, climbing up the mountain. And we wonder, like, why aren't women more successful, or why do men have more opportunity? A lot of it has to do with societal structure. A lot of it has to do with women aren't confident enough to just go do it. And so
not asking for raises. They're not like putting themselves out there.
Yeah. And so my advice to women who want to start a business is just to start making steps, even if they're baby steps. Like do something every day. It's so easy to have a dream that's so big, and you're like, we all really want to attain those dreams and goals, but if we don't have a plan, we're never going to get there. So like start like cutting up the elephant into bite-sized pieces. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be in 5 years. Like, what do I need to do in 2 years to make that happen? What do I need to do, this year, this month, this week? If you can do something every day, push towards those goals, it will happen. But if you're just kind of wishing and hoping for it to happen for you, or maybe one day I'll feel like I'm ready, you don't ever feel like you're ready. I'm sure sometimes you're still like, I can't believe I'm a lawyer. Like, what?
1,000%. 1,000%. Like, sometimes even almost 8 years in as an attorney, I am like, wait, people pay me to do this?
I can't believe I'm an adult. I'm 40.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have 4 kids. My oldest is almost 20. Like, what the heck? And like, they're all still alive, and we are thriving. Like, how are we doing this? But I just feel like the idea of that seems so crazy, but how am I doing it? And we just get up every day and we do our best, and we all support and encourage and love each other. And I work at my craft, and I'm constantly looking for ways to do other things. I'm getting ready to launch another company. Still do Scripted Social, which is my company that I do for like branding and copyright for social media company, because most companies are run by men in their 40s who don't know how to relate to women who are their clients. So I do that for them. So I think that it's one of the things that people think about what you're good at and figure out how to make money doing that. I was in Tennessee recently, and I have some friends there that live there, and they're getting ready to get out of the military, and they're kind of scared. And I said, why are you afraid? And they're like, well, what about income and money? And what if we can't do that? And I'm like, Kayla, like, what are you good at? Like, tell me what you like to do, like some fun things you like to do. And she's like, well, I just started making lotions and bath bombs and bath salts and like face creams and whatever stuff. And it's helped my skin so much. And I'm like, okay, so go partner with a wine bar and offer girls' night ins at the wine bar and like teach people how to do that. You can have these like classes and make money. And she's like, what? Like, I can do that? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. Go do that. And she's like, oh, okay. But I think we all, women, we want permission from someone to say, you're valuable. What you have is valuable. Here's how to do that. And I will say, anyone that watches this video, if they have an idea or they're like, I don't know if I can do this or how's the best way to do this. Like, I'm not an expert, like, and I don't have a business degree or whatever, but I will say I am good at finding people's strengths and giving them a push. I am happy to offer that to anyone. So,
oh, you're so sweet. You're the best, Mia. This was seriously so full of amazing advice. So much more than I thought even that we were even going to cover. So thank you so much, Mia. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone that logged on. I think honestly, this was my most popular live that I've had to date. So thank you. And I hope everyone has a good night. I'm so glad, Jasmine. So glad. So I do normally do lives every single Wednesday on some sort of legal topic. And I am doing I try and do a live with another businesswoman like Mia, like a creative. So people can just understand that we're everyday women doing this. It's again, just like putting yourself out there and taking that risk and making that leap, which is again, so scary, but you can do it. And I'm trying to create a community of women who can motivate each other and inspire each other and empower each other. So thank you to everyone that has been here tonight. And thank you.
Taylor, important. I feel like so many women like just want to belong somewhere. And when you're first starting out is so scary. So thank you for creating a safe space for people to ask questions and to be encouraged. And yeah, you're doing awesome. I love it.
Thank you. And we need to talk later. So I will email you.
Okay, perfect. And I was going to tell you too, or whoever's watching. So Blissful Lens is my photography page. I don't always post on there a ton because I live my life at People Poser on Instagram. It's spelled just the normal People Poser way. And yeah, you can see the house we're building, our daily life. I don't know. I do behind the scenes for photography. I should put it on both pages, but I'm just not that organized. So, you know.
I know how it's a lot to manage different pages.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I will also tag you in the caption of this video. I'll repost it as just a video to Instagram. So I'll tag you in the caption so everyone can link up with you if they would like to.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great night.